Welcome to the world of Mother 3. It's strange, funny, and heart-rending. It's a world that transcends the norm of video games to become something truly special among the pantheon of fiction. Its themes encourage thoughtful reflection about yourself and your own world. How do you react to sudden loss? Does the future guarantee cultural advancement? What does it mean to love? And what does the absence of love do to someone? Mother 3 lays the foundation, but you must build your own conclusions. Mother 3 is a deeply insightful game that will make you laugh one moment and cry the next. The game hardly gets serious, but when it does, it pulls no punches. It's a masterclass example of how to draw out emotions from the player. Despite the cute look of the game, some scenes might shock you with their weight. But even in the most serious moments, there's always a glimmer of lightheartedness. It's a responsible kind of maturity that doesn't drag you down too much. At the end of the day, it's still a piece of fiction, and the game knows that. You can't play if you have tears in your eyes. This game is very special and influential in my life, and I'd like to share my feelings about it with the rest of the world. But before you learn about the game itself, it's important to know its history. This video series is designed to be accessible to all walks of life, even if you've never touched a video game controller before. The first part serves as an introduction to the game, briefing you on its history and development, as well as summarizing the plot of its predecessor. If you're already a seasoned fan, you can skip over to the next part. But if you'd like to learn about the context of Mother 3, or even how the game works in the first place, get ready for some retro schooling. Mother 3 is a video game published for the Game Boy Advance in 2006, as the third in the EarthBound series of games in the sequel to the 1995 game, EarthBound, called Mother 2 in Japan. Mother 3's story, scenario, and message were written by Shigesato Itoi, with music composed by Shogo Sakai. Itoi is a celebrity in Japan who has had a wide variety of jobs in his lifetime, but he mostly focuses on writing. Itoi stated that Mother 3 was the last game he would ever make, but he still remains busy to this day with the company that he founded, Habanichi, where he pretty much does whatever he feels like. As recently as this year, they've even released plush versions of Mother 3's main characters for the first time. As for Shogo Sakai, you might know him as the guy who arranged this song. The development and release of this game was quite difficult compared to most other games. In 1996, Mother 3's development was first announced for the Nintendo 64 as a 3D game, only playable with the 64DD peripheral. However, due to so many concurrent projects going on at Nintendo, the game was cancelled. Years passed with no word on Mother 3, but in 2003, it was revealed that it would be coming to the Game Boy Advance. The game was remade from scratch with 2D pixels rather than 64's 3D models. When it was finally released in 2006, the Game Boy Advance had already been outdated by the Nintendo DS by 2 years. That didn't stop it from being a commercial and critical success, though. Due to unspecified reasons, the game was never officially released outside Japan. Some speculate it was because its predecessor, EarthBound, sold poorly in the West. Others say it was because of copyright issues regarding the music. Another theory goes that the game's mature scenes might have been too much for the West to handle. Although EarthBound sold poorly overseas, it became a cult classic worldwide by the time people had access to the internet. When Mother 3 remained untranslated to English for 2 years, fans took it upon themselves to unofficially translate the game. The fan translation was released in 2008 as a modification for the original game. This translation is the version of the game I will be using to analyze. The genre of Mother 3 is a turn-based role-playing game, or RPG for short. In this genre, games typically involve a main character who goes on a quest of some sort, talking to non-player characters, called NPCs, fighting monsters, and gaining allies to help them along the way. Analyzing the gameplay is not the purpose of this analysis, but it will be helpful to have knowledge of it when it is used to tell the story, which does happen on several occasions. The way in which characters fight is a defining feature of the genre, with allies and enemies taking turns attacking each other. Both parties' characters have a certain amount of health points, called HP, which are subtracted when one is attacked. When a character's HP is 0, they are defeated and can no longer act in battle. The members of these fights typically involve the main character and their friends against monsters, which are usually themed around the area they're fighting in. For example, bats are in caves and skeletons are in dungeons. When one side loses all its members' HP, the battle is over. If the main character's team wins, everyone in the party receives experience points, which give characters more total health and attack power. If the main character's team is defeated, the player is usually set back to a previous area they explored and must work their way back again. Since the battles are turn-based, careful planning and strategy is encouraged. Battles are most significant to the story in boss battles, where the main character and their team must fight against a single unique enemy more powerful than the rest. Bosses typically guard an important area or important antagonists to the story. The most iconic part of Mother 3's battles is the animated, colorful patterns that flow in the background, reminiscent of the psychic energy that some characters use to attack in the game. Mother 3 innovates the turn-based system by gradually depleting your HP in real time when you're hit, rather than taking all the damage instantly. This allows characters to act even if they just took a mortal blow. Another mechanic unique to Mother 3 is that characters can attack multiple times per turn if you press the A button along to the beat of the music. Songs from the first half of the game are remixed in the second half with unpredictable changes in tempo intended to make combos harder. As previously mentioned, Mother 3 is the sequel to EarthBound. The series is largely disconnected across games, with a new cast of characters in each one. You don't need too much knowledge of the other games to understand and enjoy the third. In fact, I played the games for the first time in reverse order. However, at a certain point in Mother 3, you'll want to have a basic knowledge of EarthBound's plot. The first game, EarthBound Beginnings, has minimal impact, so I won't be going over it. Despite being called the Mother series in Japan, the games aren't too focused on motherhood, besides the third one. Shigesato Itoi mentioned in an interview that the main inspiration for the title was found in John Lennon's song Mother and the emotional impact it had on him. Never being officially released to Western audiences, Mother 3's title remains unlocalized, so it is referred to as such by fans of the game. All three games in the EarthBound series have a down-to-earth, or Earthbound, setting, contrasting with most fantasy RPGs. The series also takes itself less seriously than them too, with absurdist humor around every corner. Instead of slaying dragons, you're fighting hippies and sentient objects. But beneath the wacky exterior lies the dark truths of growing up in an evil world. The main characters in EarthBound are forced to grow up quickly after life-altering events shatter the norm. In the second game in EarthBound, called EarthBound, the game opens in the home of an average kid named Ness. One night, a loud crash is heard that shakes the whole neighborhood. Ness's chubby and bratty neighbor, Porky, mistranslated as Pokey in the English translation, begs him to investigate with him. Porky forgot that he abandoned his little brother, Picky, outside that night, and is too scared to go out on his own after the loud crash. Up on a hill, they find a burning meteorite. When they approach it, a bright light shines above them, and a small flying insect named Buzz emerges. He is a messenger from the future who has come to give a prophecy. Very soon, 3 boys and 1 girl will defeat the universal cosmic destroyer, embodiment of evil, Gygus. Lately, his influence has affected the lives of otherwise peaceful creatures, and they have become hostile. It is up to the chosen 4 to restore order to the world. To be strong enough to defeat Gygus, they must visit 8 sanctuary locations all over the globe. Porky is not very fond of this idea at all. Ness, however, steps up to the plate and begins his quest to defeat Gygus. When Ness takes them home, Porky and Picky's father beats them for leaving the house and tells Ness to get out since he hates Ness's family. Porky's mother finds Buzz and swats him to death before he goes, leaving Ness all by himself to unite the 3 remaining chosen ones and save the world. Wielding slingshots, baseball bats, and yo-yos, Ness fights off against various people of influence corrupted by Gygus, such as gangsters and police officers. At one point, he encounters a cult whose leader is corrupted by a large golden statue, a particularly strong tool used by Gygas. Porky, who now identifies as Master Porky, approaches Ness and reveals that he was made an important person in the religion. When Ness defeats the leader, he apologizes and dismantles the cult, regretting what the statue did to him. Porky, though, remains unchanged. As Ness travels across the globe, defeating evil along the way, he visits a big city whose government has recently changed for the worse. When he enters the mayor's headquarters, he finds none other than Porky lounging around in an office. He has become very wealthy by giving the mayor political and economic advice. As Ness defeats Gygas' influence over the city, he once again finds the golden statue at the root of the problem. This time, he destroys it, and the city is brought back to normal. The mayor apologizes to Ness and his crew, but Porky is still defiant, and he flees in a helicopter that he stole. After finding all 8 sanctuary locations, Ness can now face Gygas head-on. Gygas is attacking from the ancient past, long before life's creation. With the help of a few great inventors, Ness and his team are able to travel to the past, with only one complication. Time travel destroys organic matter, so robots are sent in their place. These robots are implanted with their very souls, and through them, their conscience can be transferred to Gygas' time. The 4 heroes of prophecy make their way through a prehistoric cave and approach Gygas' confines. As they reach the innermost depths, they find a machine resembling intestinal tracts that contains Gygas. His power has grown to such an enormous scale that he would lose all sanity if he were released. As they approach the machine, none other than Porky materializes right in front of them. He reveals that he was led by Gygas to make sure the prophecy would never be fulfilled. To travel back to the past, Porky had to steal the original time machine meant for Ness. Porky, unlike Ness and his crew, is in the flesh. Because he didn't take the same precautions as him, he looks completely different. His skin has become a sickly green, and his once blonde hair is turning gray. As Ness and Porky fight for the fate of the future, Porky grows weary. In a last-ditch effort, he turns off the Devil's Machine and releases Gygas. Gygas has lost all consciousness due to his incredible power, and is now, as Porky puts it, an almighty idiot. Gygas has no shape or form and appears as a red gaseous swirl of agonizing faces, the visualization of nightmares. Neither Ness's power nor anyone else's can defeat Gygas. Nothing can defeat Gygas, except for the power of prayer. The team prays for everyone in the whole world to hear their cries for help. Everyone they rescued from the hands of evil along the way prays from the bottom of their hearts, and Gygas, the universal cosmic destroyer, is destroyed. Porky appears one last time, not to resign in defeat, but to travel to another era to continue his scheming, predicting that this will not be the last time they meet. Gygas' influence on everyone has been destroyed. On everyone but Porky. For now, though, the world is at peace. Ness regains his mind in his own body and returns to a home eradicated of evil. And with that, EarthBound ends and Mother 3 begins.